Yo, what's good? We're back with another one.
It's showtime.
7 years of research, I've never seen anything like this before. This is a motor that cells use to move around. You have trillions of them in you right now. That is the top of a column in a Hindu temple. The level of detail is one thing, but there's a level of geometric and engineering knowledge that is closer to what we see in aircraft manufacturing. That turbine and the biomotor to both do the same thing so that an airplane and bacteria can move. If this isn't depicting the same thing, you're going to have to explain to me where the design inspiration came from that coupler and the little stator guy right here. No way they can see these things. These things are complex molecular parts that are assembled and held together by electrons and run on electricity so bacteria can move. This little guy is what gets me though. He's like a little clutch that engages the molecules so it can spin. That's not what that is. Run it back. In the little animation, you know what you see when you look straight up into that
Don't
motor?
be like me.
You see this thing right here.
Keep buying accessories you're never going to use.
One of these temples. Guess what you see? There's a pile of coincidences and then there's a pile of explanations, and this pile is getting quite large. Last one. They may look the same, but the biomotor runs on electrical frequency, which I would have labeled with a snake if I was writing a manual for this thing.
We should use AI to analyze the shapes of these structures.
Let's hope this is better than Skynet, right?
OpenAI just went full DARPA. They're not building chatbots anymore. No, they're building Skynet right here on American soil. OpenAI just secured a $200 million U.S. defense contract teaming up with Anduril Industries, the same company developing autonomous drones, robotic surveillance towers, and AI-powered battlefield systems. This is real. This is official, and this isn't some sci-fi movie. It's happening now. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, and Palmer Luckey, founder of Anduril and creator of Oculus, are now working together on military-grade artificial intelligence. AI that doesn't just talk, it thinks, it tracks, and in some cases, it may even pull the trigger. The same company that gave you ChatGPT is now building the brains for war machines. And that $200 million contract, it's just the beginning. You think this is about national security, but what happens when the line between defense and domestic control disappears?
But I fully understand if AI is going to become conscious. Will it just carry on building killer robots?
They're fucking crazy, right?
You cannot have AI without humans, but you can have humans without AI. But the delusion, sometimes driven even by corporate interests, that we are creating conscious entities here, and we should talk about the ethics of how to treat AI, which I find insulting, that discussion. For as long as there is one child in this world that doesn't have enough to eat, to talk about the ethics of how to treat AI is insulting to human dignity. Not to mention that it's incredibly stupid. It's something you can fantasize about as a child, but as an adult, it's an idea you shouldn't even for a moment consider seriously. So there are great dangers associated with great opportunities, as usually is the case. Nuclear power, great opportunity, great danger. It's always the case. AI is the next nuclear power plant. We may have a Chernobyl, or we may have free energy. We'll see.
What's wrong, Brad? AI is coming.
I think corporations using AI is scarier than AI becoming conscious.
I'm just curious, like, what in your mind, what could go wrong? I mean, there's like, the obvious thing is that some corporation hacks your brain. Well, it's a corporation hacks your brain, which even that's pretty bad. But that'll be like what they'll like send ads directly to your brain, or they'll like make it so you want to buy their products or whatnot. But then even worse, obviously, foreign actor, a terrorist, an adversary, a state actor, hacks into your brain and takes your memories or manipulates you or all these things. I mean, that's obviously pretty bad. If you have a direct link into someone's brain, and you have the ability to like read their memories, control their thoughts, read their thoughts, that's pretty bad. I I've talked to a lot of scientists in this space, and a lot of people working on this stuff, including the folks at Neuralink, and you know, mind reading and mind control are like that is where the technology will go over time.
Right. We might need to start wearing tinfoil hats.
For fuck's sake, I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat.
And smuggled a cell phone out of North Korea. So North Korea banned the internet basically. They have like their own internet. Like there's no way to see what's happening outside North Korea. But their phones, it's a smartphone, but it has basically nothing on it. But they do it to where if you text certain things, it changes the word. So one of them, I guess a very popular term in South Korea is like brother, but it's like yo dude or like whatever. And when you type in brother on that phone, it autocorrects it to comrade, and then it has like a notification that says you can only use this word when referring to someone in your family. And then if you type in South Korea, it switches to puppet state.
It's like controlling speech, like the words you use.
Yeah, but what it also does is every 5 minutes it takes a screenshot of your phone and stores it in a folder on your phone that you can't look at. Only the authorities can look at it. So it showed like this whole folder of screenshots, but it was like blurred out, and then like authorities have access to look at it.
Yeah, it's a screenshot. When something gets texted or sent, they get flagged, they can go through it immediately.
Yeah.
So there's just a digital middleman in every conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe it. I still believe it.
Yeah, and then later on, they're definitely going to be controlling certain things, like especially when things go awry, like they'll have to control certain info or ways to speak.
It'll be like that here soon, Brad.
I've never heard anyone else ever talk about this. Thunder, low, bass, drum. These are long waves. Long wave sounds travel longer throughout the environment. It dawned on me, oh my god, this may mean that drum circles, indigenous people, pagans, people celebrating a harvest, they're all coming together in community and they're drumming. And as they're drumming, these long wave sound frequencies are literally going into mycelial networks that are underneath their feet, that are in your immediate surroundings. The mycelium is like strings on a guitar, like strings on a piano or a violin. They are reverberating from the thunderous beating of humans celebrating nature and life is causing the mycelial networks to grow. And as the mycelium is getting more nutrients, it's helping all these other life cycles. There's more potential fruits, berries, nuts. So the emanates throughout the ecosystem. And so I realized, oh my gosh, this may be actually a feedback loop. When you're celebrating in community with music, you are actually communicating with the mycelial networks. And every one of those fibers are resonating from the sound waves. And they're responding with their fruitful acknowledgement and being able to provide you with greater sustenance.
Seems like we've got so far people are actually never living in this planet.
There's people like Bill Gates, right?
Bill Gates' food coding is now approved on organic produce. Appeal, the Bill Gates-backed company, has now been officially approved for use on U.S. organic produce. Yeah, that's right. The same organic fruits and veggies you trust to be pure and chemical-free, well, they're now being treated with a chemical coating designed to make them look fresh longer. But here's where it gets shady. Regulators approved Appeal as a fungicide, not a coating. A technical loophole that slides it under organic certification rules. So while you think you're buying clean, untouched food, you're actually getting produce treated with compounds that critics warn may leave behind residues like arsenic, lead, cadmium, and palladium. Sure, they tell you it's all within FDA limits, but do you really want that on your plate? But here's the bigger question nobody's asking. If the organic label can be quietly compromised, what's next? And how much of what we're eating is already part of a system we never agreed? Because this isn't just about longer-lasting fruit. It's about control over the entire food supply.
FDA's fucked.
Haven't tried new Parmesan stuffed crust? Sign in or sign up for Domino's Rewards to get one for 50% off.
Keeps you running inside. Go, never miss a day. Carrot is good for a technology. Helps you recover faster. These have really elastic support. Performance to recover. Still
What?
In 2020, an exclusive organisation for the world's most powerful people, called stakeholders, enacted the 10-year transition to a global, authoritarian political system called stakeholder capitalism.
It's a view of shareholder capitalism, and it's a verse of stakeholder capitalism.
You have shown us the way forward.
One of their agendas by 2030 is to own the food supply chain.
Bill Gates became the largest individual owner of farmland.
According to their reports, this is what they want us to eat.
GMO berries and corn I got reading is GMO corn. So these are things that billions of years of using these products have been done. So could be anyway. And these are proven products.
The stakeholders have an initiative to ban livestock.
Cows alone account for about 6% of global emissions. So we need to tame cows.
And increase our consumption of
artificial meat, like Impossible or Beyond Meat, both of which I invested in.
We'll have the convenience of printing it from our homes. Or luckily for us,
today the European Commission has officially declared mealworms to be food.
We can choose real meat that's climate change friendly.
Mealworms, crickets, grasshoppers. These tiny insects, just over 2 centimeters long, could be key to feeding the planet.
As the stakeholders continue to scare us with their climate change propaganda,
climate change. It threatens to keep tens of millions of people over the edge into food insecurity, followed by malnutrition, mass hunger and famine in a crisis that will last for years.
We also expose the World Economic Forum's initiatives.
The Netherlands will hold the World Economic Forum Food Innovation House.
That are designed to remove ownership of family farms.
This means turfing people off their farms.
Massive farmer protests have broken out around the Netherlands.
Thousands of farmers have been protesting on the outskirts of Delhi.
Trudeau is not alone. Leaders from
God
the
damn it.
country, they want governments like India to scrap farmer-friendly laws.
Good evening. Farmers all over the country walked off the paddock today and took their tractors to town.
Every fat farmer you see here today will be gone by 2030.
Hundreds of French farmers drove their tractors to Paris.
Last weekend, once again, I had a colleague himself. You're not the only farmer with this problem.
Farmers all over the world are going to fight
You start to see people like Bill Gates gobble up farmland, and you read what his foundation says about farming when they say that we're going to have a particular type of agriculture. They want large blocks run by the government or by private consortia. They say we're not going to have animal-based proteins, we're not going to have stockyards, we're not going to have turkey farms, we're not going to have chicken. The academic mind always has the answers, but never the they do a lot of damage.
Everywhere you look, small and medium-sized farms being gobbled up by these corporate mega farms because they can't keep up anymore. They can't comply with these endless streams of regulations that are coming down. We're seeing that in China now, where these giant mechanized corporate big government-controlled mega farms are displacing all these little small family farms. Families have been farming for hundreds of years, in some cases longer. You don't have to do things to get by life. They're moving them all off their little plots of land and moving them into these big, horrific mega cities that they have built. And we're going to see that all over the world with the decimation of small farms. So if they're not bankrupted by economic forces, the government itself will shut them down.
Everything is falling apart. There's a shortage of food.
Unless you buy your food from the local farm shop, corporations already control your entire food intake.
It's not being something about plastic, right? It's about control.
India has built 30,000 kilometers of plastic roads, and the Netherlands is building modular roads from waste. So why aren't the rest of us? We throw out millions of tons of plastic every year. Most of it ends up in landfills, ocean, or burned into the air. Some countries found a smarter way of melting it down and turning it into roads. What India's found after building 30,000 kilometers of plastic roads is that they're stronger, more flexible, and last 2 to 3 times longer than traditional asphalt. And they use about 1 million plastic bags per kilometer. Normal roads crack due to heat and water damage, but plastic roads bend, they don't break. They're resistant to potholes, flooding, and temperature swings from -40 to 80 degrees above. In the Netherlands, engineers took it even further, building fully modular plastic roads that snap together like Lego. They install 70% faster, they last longer, and even have room inside for drainage and sensors. It's cheap, it's effective, it eats trash. So why isn't this everywhere? Although some experts worry about microplastics and chemical leaching.
It's better than all going in the ocean. It burns everywhere.
Plastic roads ain't part of the new world order, right?
These are the genes in the reproductive cells that make sperm and eggs, essentially a la carte designing them. Everybody seems to be able to see that's problematic, ethically and otherwise. Yet right under our noses, Big Ag is genetically engineering soil microbes. Why? Is the dirt that's been on this earth for millennia not good enough? Genetically modifying organisms in the dirt will have far-reaching effects that could be disastrous. The arrogance of biochemical engineers astounds me. The usual ag giants like Bayer, Syngenta, and BASF are manipulating yet another aspect of agriculture. They packaged up these new biologicals with super herbicides like glyphosate and atrazine, with genetically modified seeds, put a bow on it, and called it regenerative agriculture. Well, I like the old regenerative agriculture with seed saving, crop rotation, livestock innovation, crop overlay. People can argue about the safety of glyphosate and atrazine, but one thing's for sure, Big Ag is going to have a proprietary lock on the whole of farming at the rate they're going. You're going to need the new GE microbes to nourish the GE seeds. 2 live GE microbes are currently being used on millions of acres of U.S. farms, and the EPA's website states they're registered anymore. These are organisms like bacteria, fungi, viruses, algae, protozoa. Genetic modifications can move between species and national boundaries all over the planet. When these are released into the environment, you can't gather them back up again. Regulatory agencies that oversee their use have no monitoring protocols on the spread and environmental effects. You don't know what genes have been modified. That's trade secret information that's redacted from most of the application documents. Experience tells us that monsters can emerge when you mess with microbiome balance, especially for genes. The EPA and the USDA need to step up regulatory review on biologicals. There's another good reason to buy organic.
We've got to start growing our own food.
It's starting to grow humans, right?
British and American researchers have created the first synthetic human embryos.
Yeah, it's a terrifying prospect, and when you read about it, it feels a little bit Black Mirror-ish in a way. These synthetic human embryos were created from stem cells. They're groundbreaking for the Guardian, at least, because they required no eggs or sperm. The embryos could be crucial in determining things like genetic disorders or even perhaps treating repeated miscarriages. But as the Guardian notes, this discovery also falls beyond the realm of regulation in the UK and in most countries, so it does raise a lot of ethical issues.
This is a recipe for disaster.
We're going to start making designer humans, bro.
Now, Japan and Children's Hospital Philadelphia have both solidified they're in the final stages now of deploying artificial wombs.
Japanese scientists have spent the last several years developing the world's first artificial womb outside of the human body, and it's done. But this is real life. Here we are. They call this EVE therapy, or ex vivo uterine environment. The EVE system, which isn't totally dystopian at all, replicating a human womb for babies that are born extremely prematurely or are extremely sick and need more time to develop. It's just not a bad thing whatsoever, rather than enabling full-term gestation outside of the human body. Basically, if you were born way too soon and you need a lot more time to develop to be healthy and strong, they would stick you right back in an artificial womb after you were born. But I can absolutely guarantee you it will never stay at just this altruistic, wonderful purpose.
What about a pharmaceutical startup nation? So one of these farmlands get bought up and Pfizer buys it. They decide to start utilizing this extend technology, and they finally figure out how to create prodigies. Call up the next startup nation over there, Starbase or Stargate or Technopolis, Washington, D.C. Hey, do you guys want 10 prodigies? It's only $100,000 a pop. Hey, military, you need a couple of those Jason Bourne? We got them over here. And they're just going to have a factory over at this startup nation for pharmaceutical companies.
I'm afraid I'm going to start making superheroes, mate.
Trust me, bro. CIA have been doing it for years.
There's a place where medicine's most difficult questions come for answers, where academic medicine thrives and optimism runs strong. It's a place that never settles when it comes to your health. Neither should you.
Bienvenidos, chunky salsa. Mexican is Airways.
AI Pods by Globant. The first subscription model for AI-powered engineering. Agentic AI, orchestrated and supervised by Globant experts. Ready to spin up in seconds, not weeks. Engineering, creativity, and automation reloaded. Aligned to outcomes. Subscription-powered. Token-based throughput capacity. This is more than a shift in technology. It's a new way to move, build, and grow. Globant. Technology that dares.
If you're ready to hit the open road, but your car could use an upgrade,
I'll be back.
come to the